Okay. Do you pick up the background or? Is it moving my hair around too much?
Testing out some pain relieving gel.
Oh, are you? Oh, and we have a gift bag for you that has some of the good stuff. So.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. You'll love that. You guys tell me when you're ready. Anytime? Okay.
Let's make sure. Just to help. There you go.
Oh, then I get to boom all over the place. Excellent.
Just test it out a minute. Go ahead and talk into it.
Should I sing a couple lyrics? Hello. How's that sound? That good?
There, that's
okay.
better.
All right. Good afternoon and welcome. We're honored today to have visitors for the mayor's office, including Mayor Tim Keller, along with many of his staff. We have, let's see here, where's everybody hiding? We have Cynthia Jaramillo from the Economic Development Department. We have Carol Pierce with the Family and Community Services, and Jenny Metzler with Albuquerque Healthcare for the Homeless, and Monica Mitchell hiding in the back, also with Economic Development, along with a lot of the mayor's staff as well. We appreciate everybody coming out today. Great news. We established this amazing partnership with the city, recognizing some of the challenges, especially with our underserved populations with regard to their ability to stay sanitized during the pandemic, as well as the need for pain relieving products and other things for the homeless population. So we started with just a real casual conversation with Monica and Carol and came up with this master plan. And due to the generosity of our owner, Alfredo Cortazar, we're donating about $250,000 worth of products to the city to distribute to the homeless population, to local businesses, retailers that are still struggling, trying to get back on their feet after this pandemic. And, it's just a great partnership. The city gets a lot of federal funding coming in to help with some of this stuff, but it takes the rest of the village really to make it happen. We can't depend on federal funding or state funding to do all this. So we're happy to help. Mayor Keller.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, well, first, let's just give Alfredo and Team Sombra a round of applause. Yeah, thank you so much for your generosity. And, this isn't the first time Sombra has helped out the city and our community. And it started early on with different ways when we get calls and say, hey, we've got some sanitizer here and there, and we can do a few different things. But this is a big investment, and it is closely coordinated with our homeless community. And so we're going to share a little bit about how this is going to play out. And also next week we should be announcing, knock on wood, our final closing on the Gibson Medical Center. So stay tuned for that. We don't want to prematurely say anything, but a lot of the operationalizing of that facility is going to involve lots of big and small things, one of which is a ton of hand sanitizer. So I should probably use a different measurement, actually, but lots of gallons of hand sanitizer. So anyway, over the course of the pandemic, we have asked our local business leaders to find, ways to help out and also be COVID safe. And Sombra is a really good example of that. They were able to do what they needed to do during the pandemic to continue operations and so forth, and keep themselves safe and their customers safe, but then also in that true One Albuquerque spirit, look for ways to help others. And so we do just want to acknowledge Sombra as a real leader in the community and in the business community for demonstrating that all forms of public-private partnership are helpful, and especially during a pandemic. Now, the city has purchased a lot of PPE that is still being distributed by chambers of commerce, and that includes masks and gloves and different cleaners. But some folks might remember one of the things we wanted to do was buy local, so we didn't want to just buy, from out of the country a bunch of PPE and then hand it out here in Albuquerque. So we took our time to do it right, and we appreciate our Economic Development Department for putting that together to locally source those products, and Sombra was one of those locally sourced products. So we continue to hand out Sombra sanitizer as part of that program. And in fact, the next thing I'm doing on the agenda today is handing out your sanitizer at the mall. And so, really full circle. So it's a Sombra day for the mayor of Albuquerque, really. Now, I also just want to mention that part of this too is about our community safety department. So we have a lot of departments obviously that engage with the public, and often with the public that hasn't had a chance to necessarily wash their hands recently and so forth. So one is our homeless population we talked about, but the other one is kind of our down and out, or folks who need some help, who might be on the street, but they're not necessarily homeless. They might be experiencing a mental health issue or behavioral health issue. And here again is a situation where we can use the sanitizer both for our workers and for them out in the field. And so for us too, we want to remind folks, now isn't really the time to let our guard down. I know, vaccinations more are coming, and that's a great thing for everyone. But we also know, our COVID rates are really flatlining, and we all want to get to green. But it's taking a lot longer than we thought. And one thing we can do is continue the mask wearing and the hand sanitizing. So I want to thank you, Alfredo, for the donation, especially just as in your role as the owner of the company and all the staff. And we really appreciate this as an example of what's possible for business in Albuquerque. And so with that, I want to hand it over to the woman who's in charge of many things in the city: our homeless shelters, our community centers, our housing, and all sorts of things. So we're grateful to be joined by Carol Pierce, our Director of Family and Community Services. Carol.
Thank you, Mayor. And it's a real honor to be here at Sombra, a locally owned business, just really exciting for this very important contribution. I do want to say over the pandemic, we're very proud at the City of Albuquerque to keep that safety net strong for unhoused people. We at our Westside Emergency Housing Center have had 24/7 access. We think that's been really important, and we will actually continue that in the future. It is so important to our community. We had coronavirus testing and screening. We still have that to this moment, and will continue in the future as we manage our way through this pandemic. Over the course of the last year, we stood up 3 new wellness hotels, and in the course of that time, the City of Albuquerque, along with our partners, have housed over 900 unhoused individuals. It's the largest number that any of us can remember in our history, and we were grateful to do that with partners to really keep people safe. We've added medical services in those hotels, as well as our Westside Emergency Housing Center. And in extreme weather, we've added motel vouchers in addition to having those wellness hotels. So as we continue to make sure all people are vaccinated, and we've done that in our shelters, we just want to continue the strong mitigation efforts with the hand sanitizers, and again, grateful for Sombra's donation, because there are many people that may not have access to that. We also appreciate the donation of pain relief products, the cool and warm therapy that can be so welcomed and used for people who are unhoused. So thank you, Mr. Cortazar, for your generosity and for this donation, because it'll really make a difference for the lives of many here in Albuquerque. And I'm really honored to have the CEO of Albuquerque Healthcare for the Homeless, Jenny Metzler, a very strong partner here in our community. And I'll invite you, Jenny. Thanks.
I'm tangled. Got it. Thank you, Carol. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And thank you to Sombra. This is really exciting, and I get the fun part. As Carol said, during this past 13, 14 months with the city's leadership, we were really able to coordinate a multi-organizational, multi-sector response for the unhoused population to make sure, particularly vulnerable, that they were not left out during the pandemic, and we learned that we could do things we never imagined possible. So now the question is, how do we keep doing those? And we had a very good daily coordinated response. And one of the pieces, as the city was standing up these safe places for people to come in when everything else shut down, was to make sure that just because someone wasn't right in front of us, that we didn't forget about them. And so a key element of our system for the unhoused population and response was street outreach and backpack medicine. And that was where my organization, Albuquerque Healthcare for the Homeless, and First Nations Community Health Source were able to play a role. And so we organized all the street outreach engagement teams across the homeless services sector, had regular meetings. Where were we seeing people? Where were we finding them? How do we talk to them about coming in and being safe? And in the meantime, as we were engaging them, what support can we provide to them to keep themselves safe when the rest of the world had closed their doors? And so what we came up with was these backpacks. We've given out hundreds of these. They're at different times called isolation backpacks because people were increasingly isolated, even the housed population often. They're called survival backpacks because you got to survive out there in the winter in a pandemic. And what we do is we've handed out hundreds of these through the street outreach and street medicine teams, and they've got a pad, they have sanitizer, they have wipes, they have healthy snacks, and and drinks, all in this little backpack. First aid, Mylar blankets, and hot and cold packs have been a real important item, mittens, socks, everything you could think of that maybe would help someone. Not that we in any way as a community are looking to ameliorate and make homelessness more comfortable for people. We're really looking to end it, and there's so much going on in this city right now. But this was that real basic need survival thing. So this is a perfect place to get this donation out to people who really need it. So thank you.
Love those backpacks. And to talk about some of the connection here with our other business efforts, our Director of Economic Development, Cynthia Armillo.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Director Pierce. Jenny, thank you so much. And a huge thank you to Mr. Cortazar. Thank you so much for your support. We're so incredibly fortunate to have a close-knit business community that truly pulls together during tough times to support not only our unhoused, but also the small business community. And Sombra, as Mayor mentioned, was one of the many businesses, local businesses, who helped to provide free PPE to local businesses throughout our community. And Sombra is such an incredible success story for Albuquerque. I'd like to say that we're also very proud that Sombra has really shaped and grew their enterprise here in our city, and that we call Sombra a client of the Minority Business Development Center. And so on behalf of the mayor, we're really proud to do un negocio con un mexicano negocio. We're very grateful to do business with you. And the center, the Minority Business Development Center, has really helped Sombra to fast track their business into the global market. And we look forward to seeing Sombra continue to grow and show us, and Albuquerqueans, Burqueños, what is possible when we come together as a business community and as a community in general to utilize the resources available in Albuquerque. And so, mil gracias. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, actually, I think that is a great way to end things in terms of those thousands of thanks. And so we really appreciate it. And with that, we'll take questions if there are some. And then I know some of us are excited to take a look around. All right. Well, thanks, everybody. Appreciate it. And happy Good Friday and have a good Easter weekend. All right.